Imagine opening your eyes to a world painted in quiet shades of red. The light is softer here, almost shy, filtering through a dusty sky that glows like a fading ember. There is no wind at this moment, no sound, only a stillness so deep that it feels ancient, as if this planet has been waiting in silence for billions of years just to greet you. Your breath echoes gently inside your helmet, a slow reminder that you are farther from home than any human in history. Tonight, let's begin a calm journey into life on Mars, not as an explorer visiting briefly, but as someone who truly lives here, step by gentle step. You take your first slow inhale. The air inside your suit is warm, carefully recycled, carrying a faint metallic smell, a quiet signature of every life support system humans depend on. Outside the suit, however, the atmosphere is thin, cold, and distant, made mostly of carbon dioxide. You can almost sense it pressing lightly against your helmet, as if the planet itself is reminding you that survival here is not a right, but a constant partnership between human engineering and Martian nature. Your boots sink slightly into the reddish soil, leaving shallow prints that crumble at the edges. The ground feels powdery, like sand that has never known rain. When you lift your foot, tiny particles float up and hover for a moment before settling back down. Gravity here is gentle, only 38% of Earth's pull, giving everything a faint, dreamlike quality. Even your own body feels different. You are lighter. Your steps stretch just a bit farther. Movements that would feel ordinary on Earth now carry a soft, effortless bounce. Ahead of you, the horizon curves under a pale, distant sun. On Mars, the sun looks smaller, about two-thirds the size it appears from Earth, and its light arrives weaker, colder, traveling an extra 78 million kilometers just to touch your faceplate. The shadows it casts are crisp and long, sliding across cracked rocks and soft dunes shaped slowly by centuries of whispering winds. There is a stillness here that is impossible to find on Earth. No birds flying, no trees moving, no water flowing. Just the sound of your own breathing and the steady rhythm of your heartbeat, echoing gently in the quiet dome of your helmet. For the first time in your life, you understand what cosmic silence truly means. Not just the absence of noise, but the presence of vastness. Behind you, the habitat dome stands like a small bubble of human warmth in an endless desert of red. Soft lights glow from inside, illuminating the airlock you passed through only moments ago. It is your home now, a fragile, pressurized sanctuary built from layers of composite materials, radiation-shielding panels, and hope. Every system inside it was designed for one purpose: to keep you alive. To let you not just visit Mars, but stay. A thin line of frost clings to the exterior pipes, still cooling from the journey and adjusting to the Martian atmosphere. The soft hum of power units vibrates through the ground beneath your boots. Tiny LED markers blink along the walkway, guiding you gently back toward the airlock, should you choose to return. But not yet. Not now. You take a moment to simply stand still and look around. To your left, jagged rocks rise like broken teeth from an ancient landscape. To your right, a sweeping plain stretches into the distance, untouched and silent. The faintest swirl of dust curls in the air, illuminated by sunset light that is slowly shifting from gold to a soft bluish tint. Yes, a blue sunset. On Mars, twilight is reversed. The sky near the sun glows blue because fine dust scatters sunlight differently here. You turn your head slightly, feeling the low gravity tug at your balance in a gentle, unfamiliar way. Everything in your body wants to interpret this new world through Earth's expectations. But Mars offers its own rhythm, its own logic, its own delicate pace. You begin to feel it shaping you even in these first few minutes. As your eyes adjust, you notice something else. Silence is not empty here. It is full of time, full of history, full of the quiet weight of a world that has been still for ages, a world waiting for human footsteps. You lift your hand and touch the cold surface of a nearby rock. Its texture is rough, but anciently smooth at the same time, shaped by billions of years without rain. Some of the dust clings to your glove, sparkling faintly like crushed gemstones. This is Mars, and it feels strangely familiar, as if you've stepped into a memory from a dream you forgot you had. A soft vibration runs through your boots, the habitat signaling a routine systems check. Everything is functioning, everything is safe. You take another breath, longer now, more grounded. You are here. You are truly here. And as you look back at the horizon once more, you begin to imagine what your first hours and your first day living on this distant world will feel like. This is just the beginning. The first night on Mars begins long before darkness actually arrives, because the planet cools faster than anything you've ever felt on Earth. As the faint sun drifts lower, the temperature around you drops in slow, steady waves, as if the warmth of the day is being gently pulled away by an invisible hand. You stand outside your habitat dome, watching the horizon fade from a dusty orange to a deep, muted red. And for the first time you notice how the thin atmosphere lets the cold slip in almost instantly, with nothing to stop it. Your breath forms a soft fog on the inside of your visor as the sky above begins to darken, revealing the pale shimmer of early stars that appear sooner and brighter than they do back home. The silence deepens as the air loses its last bit of heat, settling into a stillness so profound that even the soft hum of your life support system feels like a loud companion in the quiet Martian evening. When the next gust of wind comes, it is not a breeze. You don't feel wind the way you do on Earth. Instead, a thin ribbon of motion brushes lightly against your suit, carrying with it fine, powdery dust that glitters briefly before settling back down. The sky continues to darken, and then you notice them. Two small, hauntingly beautiful moons rising slowly over the horizon. Phobos appears first, racing across the sky in a hurried arc, moving so quickly that you can actually see its position shift minute by minute. It feels alive somehow, like a restless guardian pacing through the night. Moments later, Deimos rises behind it, a tiny, distant speck that drifts lazily, almost shyly, across the sky. Their combined presence gives the night an otherworldly glow, faint but comforting, like dim lanterns guiding the beginning of your first Martian dream. The stars are sharper here, unhindered by thick air or moisture. Constellations look familiar but slightly distorted, as if someone rearranged them with a careful artistic hand. You tilt your head back and let the quiet immensity of the cosmos settle over you. On Earth, the sky feels far away. Here it feels close, achingly close, as if you could reach out and touch the dark velvet of space with your fingertips. As night deepens, the temperature continues to fall. Your suit compensates automatically, warming your body in gentle pulses, but you can still sense the icy breath of the planet somewhere just beyond the protective layer. Mars does not simply get cold. It becomes silent in a way that feels ancient, like a memory of the early universe frozen into its soil. You return to the airlock slowly, letting the low gravity guide your steps with calm, floating softness. Inside the habitat, the air is warm and faintly humid, carrying the comforting scent of recycled oxygen and machinery working quietly to keep your small world alive. The lights dim automatically to simulate evening, casting soft golden reflections across the curved interior walls. You remove your helmet, and the first unfiltered breath fills your lungs with a subtle metallic taste. Not unpleasant, just different, like breathing inside a spaceship cocoon. You sit near the small viewport, a circular window facing the plain outside, and watch the Martian night settle like a blanket over the landscape. Phobos crosses the sky again, moving so fast it almost seems impatient. Deimos drifts in the distance, gentle and unassuming. The stars shimmer without flickering, steadier than any night you have ever seen. You feel the weight of the planet beneath you, not heavy but ancient, as if Mars is quietly acknowledging your presence, accepting you into its quiet solitude. Your thoughts slow, your heartbeat settles. The silence wraps around you softly, like a lullaby from a world that has waited billions of years for human footsteps. And as your eyes grow heavy, you wonder what dreams might come when the world outside is so quiet and so impossibly far from home. Morning on Mars arrives slowly, almost reluctantly, as if the planet prefers the quiet of night and needs time to allow the sun back in. You wake before the lights inside your habitat brighten, stirred by the faint hum of life support systems recalibrating for a new sol. The Martian term for a day, slightly longer than an Earth day by about 40 minutes. For a moment, lying in your sleeping pod, you forget where you are. Then the artificial dawn begins, a gentle, warm glow spreading across the curved interior walls, simulating sunrise before it actually happens outside. You open your eyes, feeling weightless in the soft Martian gravity, and take a slow breath as you adjust to the calm rhythm of the morning. When you rise, your movements feel almost graceful, as if your body has learned overnight to appreciate the lighter pull of this world. You step out of the sleeping area, and the floor beneath you vibrates faintly as water circulates through hidden pipes. Recycled, purified, heated carefully. Everything here requires intention. Nothing is wasted. Each drop of water has a purpose. Each watt of energy is guided by quiet algorithms that maintain your survival like a silent guardian. You brew your first cup of Martian coffee, not because it tastes different, but because drinking it here feels symbolic, like claiming a small piece of normalcy in a place where nothing is familiar. The steam rises slowly in the thin pressure of the habitat, forming delicate spirals that linger longer than they would on Earth. You take a sip, and even though the flavor is muted by recycled air and artificial humidity, it feels comforting in a way no explanation can fully capture. With your cup in hand, you walk toward the main window and open the internal shutters. Outside, the horizon is bathed in a pale, ghostly blue, a phenomenon unique to Mars, caused by fine dust scattering light differently. On Earth, sunsets are red and sunrises are golden. But here, dawn begins with a soft blue halo that slowly deepens into muted orange as the sun climbs higher. You watch the light spread across the landscape, touching rocks and dunes with a fragile warmth. The first sunbeams illuminate the dust, making it sparkle like powdered gemstones suspended in the air. In this moment, Mars looks less like a barren world and more like a quiet painting made with careful strokes of light and silence. You finish your coffee and prepare for the day ahead. Every morning on Mars begins with a systems check: oxygen levels, pressure seals, temperature regulation, water reserves, communication relays. The display screens glow softly as they confirm each function, their gentle beeps blending into the background like the steady heartbeat of the habitat. You place your hand on one of the warm panels, feeling a quiet gratitude for the machinery that keeps this fragile bubble of life intact. Outside, the temperature remains far below freezing, but inside, the atmosphere is warm and calm, mimicking a mild autumn morning on Earth. As part of your routine, you step into the small greenhouse module connected to the main habitat. The humidity hits you instantly, thicker, alive, and the smell of plants fills your senses with a sudden rush of comfort. Rows of leafy greens stretch under soft LED lights, their roots suspended in nutrient-rich solutions. Tiny droplets of condensation cling to the transparent walls, shimmering like pearls. You run your fingertips over the leaves, surprised at how deeply the presence of something alive can affect you on this silent world. The plants are not just food, they are companionship, a reminder that life can be coaxed into existence, even in the most distant places. After checking the greenhouse, you return to the main room and begin suiting up for your first official morning outside. The process is methodical, almost meditative, checking seals, monitoring oxygen, adjusting the inner layers to keep your body warm. You stand in the airlock waiting for the pressure to equalize, listening to the soft hiss of shifting air. When the outer door slides open, the cold rushes in, not as a gust, but as a presence, a sharp clarity in the air that feels ancient and untouched. You step outside, and the Martian morning greets you with a silence that feels almost sacred. The sun is a small, pale disk, rising steadily, casting long shadows behind the rocks. Your footsteps create soft puffs of red dust with each gentle bounce, and the horizon stretches endlessly ahead, inviting you to explore it with calm curiosity. The planet is waking up with you, slowly, patiently, revealing itself one moment at a time. As the warmth of the sun begins to touch the ground, you realize something quietly profound. This world, once unreachable, is now part of your daily routine. Your mornings belong to Mars now, and in that realization, a sense of calm settles over you, a peaceful understanding that life here, though fragile and unfamiliar, is already beginning to feel like a new kind of home. Your body begins adapting to Mars long before you even realize it, responding quietly to the planet's gentle pull, the thin air, and the slow, steady rhythm of life in this distant world. At first, you simply feel lighter, as if someone has secretly lifted half your weight overnight. Every movement carries a softness, a floating ease that makes even the simplest action, walking, stretching, bending, feel almost elegant. You notice it when you take your first step in the morning, and your foot rises just a little higher than you expected, or when you reach for something and your arm moves with a smooth, effortless glide. Mars gravity, only 38% of Earth's, gives your body a sense of quiet freedom, like loosening a tension you never knew you carried. But with that freedom comes a subtle instability. Your muscles, trained for Earth's pull, must relearn balance, strength, and endurance. You begin to feel it in your legs first, not as weakness, but as a curious lightness, a shifting of weight that asks your body to reorganize its habits. When you jump, you rise almost twice as high as you would on Earth, gently, as if the planet is catching you in slow motion. When you sit down, you have to remind yourself to lower your body carefully. Otherwise, you float down more quickly than you intend. Even your heartbeat adjusts, beating slightly slower as it works against less gravitational resistance, conserving energy in this soft, unfamiliar environment. Breathing becomes an interesting sensation on Mars. Inside your habitat, the air is carefully crafted to mimic Earth's oxygen levels, but there is something different in the way your chest rises and falls. The pressure is lower, the humidity controlled, and the temperature is always on the edge of crispness. Stepping outside in a pressurized suit brings another shift. Every inhale feels slightly thicker, warmer, guided through layers of filters and tubing that maintain a careful balance. Your body relies entirely on this manufactured atmosphere, and somewhere deep in your mind, you learn to trust the steady rhythm of your oxygen system the way you once trusted wind, trees, and open sky back home. Over time, your bones begin to change as well. On Earth, gravity constantly pulls your skeleton downward, stimulating bone density. On Mars, with less pull, the process slows. Your body adapts quietly, subtly, reducing the density of your bones to suit a world where strength is measured differently. The process is gentle, not something you can feel day by day, but it reshapes you nonetheless, turning you into a hybrid, part Earth human, part Martian resident. Even your inner ear, responsible for balance, must relearn how to interpret motion. When you turn your head, the world seems to shift more slowly. When you crouch down and stand again, the movement feels lighter, as if gravity itself is giving you a small, helping hand. Your sense of up and down adjusts to the new rules of this world, freeing your body to move with an ease that becomes strangely comforting over time. Your muscles respond in their own quiet way. Without the constant resistance of Earth's gravity, they begin to rebuild themselves differently. You spend time each day using resistance bands and specialized exercise machines designed to help your body maintain strength. The routine becomes meditative, slow, steady motions, breathing in sync with the hum of the habitat, allowing your muscles to adapt without strain or urgency. It is not about building strength here. It is about preserving the harmony between your moving body and this gentle planet. Your skin feels different as well. Mars is dry, extremely dry, and although your habitat maintains humidity, every step outside steals moisture in silent, invisible breaths. When you return from an EVA, your cheeks feel cooler, your lips drier, your hands craving moisture. You learn to compensate, to moisturize, to hydrate, to rest. Your body becomes attuned to small details, subtle changes in air pressure and temperature that you never noticed on Earth. Even your vision adjusts. The light on Mars is softer, filtered through fine dust that paints everything in muted hues. Objects appear sharper, outlines more defined, shadows longer and calmer. The sun's pale warmth changes the way light reflects off surfaces, and your eyes adapt, learning to read a palette of colors that barely exists back home. Red, gold, peach, muted brown, these become your new dawn tones. Soft blue sunsets become your quiet signal that evening has arrived. Throughout it all, you begin to sense something deeper. Living on Mars is not just a physical adjustment, it is a gentle reshaping of your identity. You start to move differently, see differently, breathe differently. Your body learns the calm rhythm of this world, accepting its lighter pull, its thinner air, its slower, quieter pace. And as days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, a subtle transformation unfolds. You are still human, fully human, but you are becoming something else as well, a person shaped by two worlds, a traveler who belongs to Earth, but who is learning slowly and peacefully how to belong to Mars. Stepping outside onto the Martian surface feels like walking into a world that has been asleep for billions of years, waiting in silence for someone to finally witness it up close. The moment the airlock door slides open, a crisp stillness greets you. Not wind, not movement, just a quiet so complete it feels like time itself has paused. You take your first step, your boot sinking softly into the powdery regolith, and a faint cloud of red dust rises in slow motion before settling back down in delicate spirals. Every movement feels graceful under the planet's gentle gravity, as if Mars is guiding your steps across its ancient skin. As you move forward, the landscape stretches in all directions like an endless painting, made not of bright colors, but of subtle tones and textures shaped over ages. The horizon curves softly, tinted with faint orange light that reflects off rocky outcrops and scattered dunes. You notice how the ground changes beneath you, sometimes sandy and fine, sometimes firm and cracked, with stones that range from pebble-sized fragments to enormous boulders shaped by long-forgotten volcanic eruptions. Each one carries a story older than Earth's mountains, untouched by wind, water, or life as you know it. When you stop and kneel, your gloved hand brushes against a smooth basalt rock. Its surface cooled into shape when Mars was young and active. It feels cold even through your suit, a kind of primordial chill that whispers of a time when rivers once carved through this world, when the sky may have been thicker, warmer, maybe even blue. Dust clings to your glove like fine powder, shimmering briefly under the pale sunlight before drifting away. Ahead of you rises a ridge, a gentle slope carved not by water, but by ancient winds whose ghosts still linger in the patterns etched into the rock. Climbing it is surprisingly easy in the low gravity. Each step carries you a little farther, a little higher than your muscles expect. As you reach the top, the view opens like a quiet revelation, a vast plain known as the Utopia Planitia, stretching endlessly beneath a soft haze of iron-red dust. The silence here is profound, not empty, but full of presence, as if the planet itself is observing you with calm, patient curiosity. In the distance, you spot faint traces of past missions, an old landing stage partially buried in dust, a faded line where a rover once rolled across the surface, now barely visible under layers of time. These relics remind you that although humans have touched this world before, living here, walking here, breathing here is something entirely different. You are not a visitor. You are a resident exploring your new home. You continue walking, following the gentle curvature of the land. Small dust devils occasionally swirl far off in the distance. Tall, narrow columns of fine particles rising into the air like slow-moving spirals of smoke. They drift silently across the plain, fading as quickly as they form, leaving no trace behind. Even these tiny storms feel delicate here, more like whispers than forces of nature. Every so often you pause to look up at the sky. The sun hangs low, pale and distant, casting long, soft shadows across the terrain. Its light feels cool on your suit, but comforting, a reminder that even here, 225 million kilometers from home, warmth still reaches you. Above the sun, the sky is a muted but brilliant gradient, shifting from dusty gold to a gentle salmon pink. As you continue your walk, you notice something surprising. Despite its barren appearance, Mars has a strange beauty, a quiet, ancient poetry in its stillness. The rocks, the dust, the frozen ground, the delicate patterns carved by time. Everything seems to exist in perfect, undisturbed balance. Walking through this landscape brings a sense of peace few places on Earth could offer. With each step, the silence settles deeper inside you, grounding you, slowing your thoughts, calming your mind. There are no cars here, no cities, no noise, only your breath, the soft crunch of regolith beneath your boots, and the gentle hum of your life support system. You begin to understand why explorers often describe Mars as a mirror, a place that reflects your thoughts back at you with a clarity impossible in the crowded chaos of Earth. As you reach a small rise overlooking a shallow crater, you sit down on a flat rock and allow yourself a moment of stillness. From here, the land rolls outward in soft waves of red and brown, illuminated by sunlight that fades slowly toward the west. In a few hours, the cold will return, sweeping across the desert with a quiet finality. But for now, the air is calm, the world open, the silence unbroken. You draw in a slow breath, feeling the planet's rhythm align with your own. This landscape, barren, ancient, silent, welcomes you with a serenity that feels almost sacred. And as you rise again to continue your exploration, you realize that Mars is not just a place you live now, it is a place you are beginning to understand. Building the first human structures on Mars is less like constructing a city and more like carefully cultivating a fragile garden in the middle of a cosmic desert. Everything begins with protection. Protection from radiation, from temperature swings, from dust, from pressure loss, and every design choice reflects this fundamental truth. As you walk around the outskirts of your habitat, the architecture feels both futuristic and humble, shaped by necessity and patience. The main dome where you live is smooth and rounded, a shape chosen not for beauty but for strength, able to withstand external pressure differences and scatter incoming radiation. Its layers, polymer composites, insulation foam, regolith shielding, work together like the shells of ancient deep-sea creatures, each one adding a quiet defense against a world that does not naturally welcome human life. Surrounding the dome are smaller modules connected by flexible pressurized tunnels. These corridors curve softly as they move between structures, gently swaying when the temperature shifts. Inside, they glow with dim lights, their walls lined with cables and air filters that hum like distant ocean waves. To humans of the future, these tunnels will feel like hallways. To you, they feel like veins and arteries, carrying warmth, water, and breath through the small but vital body of your Martian home. One of the first things you notice as you approach the engineering module is the thick layer of regolith piled over its roof. a reddish, grainy blanket placed deliberately by robots and human crew members to shield the interior from cosmic rays and solar storms. At first, the idea of covering your buildings with dirt feels counterintuitive, but here, regolith is as precious as steel. It is your armor. And the weight of it, held by reinforced arches beneath, is a quiet promise that the habitat inside will remain safe even during the fiercest Martian conditions. Further ahead, the 3D printing units stand like strange, mechanical animals resting in the dust. Their long robotic arms, now powered down, were once alive with movement, melting Martian soil and mixing it with binding agents to create bricks and panels. These printers turn the planet itself into construction material, making every new expansion a conversation between human engineering and Martian geology. When you touch one of the printed blocks, you feel its surprising solidity. It's rough, cold, and slightly metallic to the touch, a hybrid of alien soil and human creativity. Across from the printers stands the greenhouse module, a structure so different from the others that it seems almost magical. Its arched, transparent panels glisten softly under the sun, collecting warmth and light to feed the life inside. As you walk alongside the greenhouse, you can see the outlines of plants through the condensation. Soft greens and delicate leaves thriving in a world that had not seen color for billions of years. Inside, the air is thick with humidity, the smell of earth and chlorophyll overwhelming your senses in the best way. It feels like stepping into a small fragment of earth preserved under glass. Near the greenhouse is the water processing tower, a slender vertical structure that extracts moisture from the air and recycles water from the habitat. On Mars, water is a priceless element, a liquid thread connecting survival to technology. The tower emits a slow, rhythmic hum, pulling in cold, outside air, separating its scarce vapor, purifying every molecule. Its output flows through insulated pipes into storage tanks beneath the dome, forming the lifeblood of the colony. Walking farther from the main hub, you arrive at what will one day be the heart of future Martian settlements, the underground expansion. Here, smooth entry ramps lead down into natural lava tubes, ancient tunnels formed by volcanic flows millions of years ago. These caves offer natural protection from radiation, temperature swings, and meteorites. Engineers are already reinforcing their walls with printed supports and soft LED panels, transforming them into warm, sheltered spaces that will one day host living quarters, laboratories, even small parks. Standing at the entrance of a lava tube, you feel the cold air drifting upward from the darkness below. It carries a silence even deeper than the surface, a quiet that feels almost sacred. You imagine future generations living here, children running in low gravity, families gathering under soft artificial lights, a thriving society rooted inside the bones of the planet. Returning to the surface, you take one last slow look around at the structures rising gently from the red soil. None of them are grand, none are imposing, yet each one represents something extraordinary, humanity learning how to breathe in a world it was never meant to survive in. These early habitats, with their rounded domes, printed walls, glowing tunnels, and sheltered caves, form the fragile beginning of a future civilization, one that will grow not through dominance, but through harmony with its environment. And as you stand among them, surrounded by the quiet hum of machinery and the endless calm of the Martian desert, you feel a profound truth settle inside you. This place is no longer just a distant dream or a hostile frontier. It is becoming a home. Food on Mars is not simply nourishment, it is comfort, routine, hope, and a quiet reminder that life can take root even in a world that has never known it. Every meal, every leaf of green, every sprout pushing upward inside the greenhouse is a small victory, a statement that humanity can craft warmth and growth in a land carved by cold and silence. When you step into the agricultural module, the shift in atmosphere is immediate. The air grows warmer, thicker, alive with humidity that clings gently to your skin. The soft hum of circulating fans mixes with the delicate patter of nutrient-rich water dripping through hydroponic channels. Artificial sunlight, broad-spectrum LEDs tuned to mimic Earth's dawn, bathes the plants in gentle gold, turning the leaves into tiny mirrors of hope. You inhale deeply, absorbing the scent of chlorophyll and damp soil substitutes, and for a moment you feel as if you've stepped through a door back to Earth. Rows of crops stretch before you in carefully arranged trays. Leafy greens, micro-vegetables, dwarf wheat varieties, compact potato plants, herbs engineered to thrive in low-pressure environments. Each plant has been chosen not only for yield but for resilience, capable of growing with minimal water and thriving under artificial light. You run your gloved fingers over the cool leaves, feeling the faint pulse of life that exists because humans willed it into existence. In the center of the greenhouse sits a small open space where crew members often gather. This is where seeds are inspected, where new trays are prepared, where people sometimes sit quietly just to rest their eyes on something alive. In a world where the landscape is an endless sea of red dust, this room becomes a sanctuary, a small forest under glass, breathing gently with you. The daily harvest is modest but meaningful. You collect a handful of crisp lettuce leaves, a few clusters of microgreens, perhaps a small bowl of freshly grown tomatoes, tiny but vibrant bursts of color in a habitat filled with metallic textures and soft gray tones. Everything harvested is tracked meticulously, weighed, logged, and divided equally. On Mars, food is more than sustenance. It is a shared ritual, a reminder that survival is a collective effort. Cooking here is both simple and strange. Most meals combine fresh greenhouse produce with packets of shelf-stable ingredients brought from Earth. Rice, quinoa, dehydrated beans, protein pastes derived from algae and lab-grown cultures. Water is heated slowly, steam rising in thin, elegant trails that shimmer in the low pressure of the habitat. There is something calming about preparing food here, something almost meditative. Each action, stirring, chopping, seasoning, feels deliberate and patient, as if you are performing a ceremony rather than making dinner. Eating with others becomes a highlight of the day. You gather at a small circular table, the dishes floating slightly when handled lightly due to the reduced gravity. Conversations blend with soft laughter, and even though the meals are simple, they taste extraordinary because they are shared. Humans bond through food, and on Mars, that bond becomes even stronger, weaving the small colony into a family forged by distance and purpose. Some days you experiment with new recipes. A greenhouse technician might offer fresh basil from a newly matured crop, prompting someone else to create a dish that fills the habitat with the faint but comforting aroma of herbs, a smell almost forgotten until now. Other days you try something adventurous, using Martian water extracted from underground ice, filtered and purified until it becomes crystal clear. The idea of drinking or cooking with water, once locked in the planet's frozen ground, adds an emotional layer to every sip, connecting you physically and symbolically to this world. As the greenhouse expands, so does the menu. Strawberries grown in suspended gel pouches begin to appear during special occasions, their sweetness intensified by the controlled environment. Edible flowers bloom under the LEDs, offering color and beauty to an otherwise muted world. Slowly, the greenhouse becomes a living tapestry, a piece of Earth engineered to thrive among alien dust. You often find yourself returning here even when you don't need to. Sitting among the plants, listening to the quiet symphony of fans and dripping water, you feel grounded in a way nothing else in this world can provide. The greenhouse becomes a refuge, a place where time feels soft and gentle, where you can watch life itself unfold at its own steady pace. And as you take a final look at the day's harvest, placing each leaf and sprout in its container, you realize something profound. In this small room, humanity is not just surviving, it is creating, nurturing, growing. Mars may be barren, frozen and silent, but inside these walls you carry a spark of Earth, a reminder that wherever humans go, life will follow. Living on Mars slowly reshapes your mind in ways you never expected, not through sudden shocks or dramatic realizations, but through quiet, subtle shifts that accumulate day after day, like soft layers of dust settling on ancient stone. The silence becomes the first thing you notice, an immense, uninterrupted silence that follows you everywhere, even inside the habitat where machines hum softly. On Earth, silence is temporary, filled by distant traffic, rustling trees, faraway voices. But here, silence is a presence of its own, something you feel against your skin and behind your thoughts, a vast and ancient calm that seeps into you whether you invite it or not. In the beginning, this silence feels foreign, almost unsettling, as if the planet is waiting for you to speak first. But slowly, as the days pass, it becomes familiar, a companion rather than a void. You find yourself thinking more slowly, breathing more deeply, moving with more intention. Mars teaches you to live at a different pace, one shaped by long horizons and gentle gravity, by nights filled with unmoving stars and days defined by distant sunlight. The isolation affects you too, not in a dramatic or painful way, but in soft waves that remind you how far you are from everything you once called home. When you first arrived, you felt the weight of distance pressing at the edges of your thoughts, the knowledge that Earth is a tiny dot in the sky, unreachable without months of travel, creates a quiet ache inside you. But over time, that ache transforms. It becomes a kind of clarity, a reminder of what truly matters, a mental stillness that helps you understand yourself in ways you never could amid the noise of your old life. You begin to feel more connected to the people around you, not because you know them better, but because you share the same fragile existence in an environment where every breath depends on cooperation. Conversations become deeper, smiles feel more meaningful, even disagreements soften, as if the planet's quiet vastness reminds everyone that small conflicts are insignificant here. Bonds formed on Mars carry a different weight, forged not by convenience, but by necessity and trust. At the same time, you develop a new relationship with solitude. You discover that being alone on Mars does not feel the same as being alone on Earth. When you stand outside in your suit, facing the endless plains, the solitude feels profound, but not frightening. More like being in an ancient cathedral carved by nature itself. You become comfortable with your own thoughts, finding peace in the simplicity of a world that asks nothing from you, except presence and attention. Some days, emotions catch you off guard. A view of Earth glowing faintly in the sky might bring a sudden warmth to your chest, a reminder of blue oceans, green forests, and the murmur of rain. Hearing a familiar song inside the habitat might stir a memory so vivid you can almost feel the air of your childhood home. But these moments are gentle, not overwhelming. Mars does not amplify emotion, it distills it. You experience feelings not as storms, but as soft tides rolling through you, each one clear, calm, and meaningful. Dreams change too. People who live on Mars often report dreaming differently, as if the mind adapts to the planet's quiet and its slow, rhythmic environment. You begin dreaming in wider spaces, long plains under pale skies, caves lit by soft artificial light, domes filled with green life. Sometimes your dreams blend Earth and Mars together, a familiar forest under a pink sky, waves washing across red sand, people you love walking with you across the quiet Martian desert. These dreams feel peaceful, like bridges between two worlds your heart is learning to hold at the same time. Over weeks and months, a strange but beautiful transformation occurs. You begin to feel a sense of belonging. Not a replacement for Earth, not a preference, but an unexpected acceptance of this world's rhythms. Mars becomes part of your emotional landscape. When you wake up, the muted light filtering through the habitat feels comforting, not alien. When you go outside, the cold air brushing your suit feels familiar. The long shadows, the soft dust, the faded colors, all of it becomes part of your inner vocabulary of calm. And somewhere deep inside, you realize that Mars is shaping you gently, with patience and silence, teaching you resilience, reflection, and a slower way of being. You have not left Earth behind. You have simply grown enough to hold two worlds in your heart. The weather on Mars is a quiet kind of science, gentle, subtle, and shaped by forces so delicate that you often feel them more in your thoughts than on your skin. Unlike Earth, where weather is a living, breathing system full of energy, movement, and life, Mars offers an atmosphere that behaves like a whisper, thin and fragile, carrying dust instead of moisture, silence instead of sound. You first notice this fragility the moment you step outside. The air around you doesn't press against your suit, doesn't tug at your clothes, doesn't swirl with warmth or coolness. Instead, it feels like standing inside an immense, ancient void where the wind has forgotten how to be wind, and light simply flows through the dust like water through silk. Mars' atmosphere is only about 1% as thick as Earth's, made almost entirely of carbon dioxide, with just hints of nitrogen and argon. There is no oxygen here, no comforting blanket of pressure. Because of this thinness, the planet cannot hold heat the way Earth does. When sunlight touches the surface, it warms the ground, but the warmth escapes almost immediately the moment the sun dips below the horizon. You can feel this rapid shift even through your suit. A sense of warmth fading as quickly as a disappearing breath. It's not a shock, not sudden, but a slow, slipping coldness that feels like the planet gently closing its eyes for the night. Dust plays the lead role in Martian weather. Every grain of it is incredibly fine, almost like talcum powder, and carries iron that gives the planet its signature red hue. When the wind picks up, if you can call such a delicate movement wind, the dust lifts into the air and hangs there for hours, creating a soft haze that paints the sky in muted tones of orange, rose, peach, and brown. Sometimes the dust thickens enough to turn day into something resembling twilight, even when the sun is high. Other times, it creates halos of light around the horizon, making the sky glow like the inside of a lantern. Despite its thin atmosphere, Mars can produce dust storms that grow to extraordinary sizes, not because they are violent, but because they are persistent. A single dust storm can blanket the entire planet, slowly spreading like a calm, creeping shadow until every valley, crater, ridge, and dome is covered beneath an orange haze. From inside the habitat, you watch these storms drift across the plains, not as raging tempests, but as graceful, planet-wide veils, dimming the sunlight, muffling the horizon, and turning the world into a soft watercolor painting. These storms move silently. You never hear them, never feel them pushing against your suit. They exist as a visual event, not a physical force, weather that you witness rather than experience. When you step outside after a storm has passed, you often find the ground covered in fresh layers of fine red dust, smoothing out footprints, filling tiny cracks, softening the world. It feels as if the planet has quietly erased its surface during the night, resetting itself with an almost artistic calm. Temperature on Mars is another gentle puzzle. During the warmest part of the day, especially near the equator, the ground might reach a temperature comfortable enough to imagine taking off your gloves, if not for the deadly lack of pressure and oxygen. But just a few feet above the soil, the air remains freezing, unable to retain heat. It creates a strange layering of temperatures that your suit constantly adjusts to, maintaining your comfort while the world outside shifts rapidly between extremes. Then there are the sunsets and sunrises, moments of quiet beauty that feel like rewards for your patience. At dusk, the dusty sky filters the fading sunlight into a palette of soft reds and golds, but right at the center, just above the setting sun, a cool blue light emerges. This Martian blue sunset happens because the fine dust particles scatter blue light toward the center of the sky while pushing the red to the sides. Watching it feels like witnessing a secret the universe only reveals on this planet. At dawn, the process reverses. The world begins in gentle blue before blooming into warm tones that glide across the landscape like a slow-moving tide. In these moments, standing outside as the planet transitions from night to day, you feel an overwhelming sense of stillness. Mars doesn't rush anything. Its weather is slow, deliberate, patient. Even its storms take their time, building over days, drifting for weeks, fading quietly without drama. Over time, you begin to understand that Martian weather is not something to fear or predict. It's something to observe, something to learn from. It teaches you about fragility, about endurance, about the delicate balance between sunlight and shadow. And as you stand beneath the thin, whispering sky, you feel a profound connection to this quiet world. A world shaped not by thunder and rain, but by silence, dust, and the soft, ancient rhythm of a planet that has been waiting calmly for billions of years. Traveling long distances on Mars feels less like driving across a landscape and more like drifting through an ancient dream carved in red stone. Everything happens slowly here, not because of caution alone, but because the planet itself encourages patience. When you first approach the rover, its rounded frame and wide, dust-coated wheels give it an appearance somewhere between a vehicle and a small habitat, designed to carry you safely across a world that has no roads, no signs, no familiar markers. The rover's interior is warm and softly lit, with seats that cradle your body gently in the low gravity. As you sit inside and seal the hatch, you feel the quiet hum of pressurization closing around you, creating a small oasis of breathable air amid the cold vacuum outside. The engine starts without noise, electric motors turning silently, powered by solar panels layered across the roof like mechanical wings. When the rover begins to move, there is no sense of speed. The ground glides beneath you with a slow, floating grace, red dust rising in calm spirals behind the wheels before settling gently back into place. Through the wide panoramic windows, the Martian horizon expands endlessly, a seamless wash of muted colors and subtle shadows. Without atmosphere thick enough to distort light, everything appears sharper, clearer, almost too still. Rocks cast long, crisp shadows. Distant hills look close enough to touch, even though they may be kilometers away. As you drive, the rover's navigation system projects soft lines across the screen, virtual pathways created by satellite mapping and terrain analysis. Out here, there are no roads in the traditional sense. Instead, your path is shaped by the landscape itself, guiding you around craters, over ridges, and through valleys carved by ancient floods. Sometimes you cross areas where old robotic missions once traveled. You might pass a discarded heat shield, half buried in dust, or the faint tracks of a rover long silent, its tiny metallic body resting somewhere beyond the horizon. Seeing these relics creates a quiet sense of companionship, as if other explorers are still here with you, their presence scattered across the plains like gentle echoes of humanity's first steps. Driving across the planet introduces you to the vastness of Mars in a way no walk near the habitat ever could. Hours can pass without any change in scenery, the monotony broken only by subtle shifts in color or a ridge rising in the distance. But rather than feeling empty, the landscape feels meditative. Your thoughts slow, your breathing deepens. The calm of the planet seeps into you. Sometimes you stop the rover and step outside. The silence that greets you is overwhelming, not oppressive, just immense. It stretches outward in every direction, filling the space between rocks and sky with a stillness that feels sacred. You stand beside the rover, your boots sinking slightly into the dust, and look out across the endless plains. The world seems both impossibly vast and intimately close, as if Mars is gently wrapping itself around your senses. Continuing your journey, you encounter one of the planet's most dramatic sights, the colossal canyons of Valles Marineris. The rover approaches the edge slowly, and suddenly the ground drops away into a chasm so deep and wide that it feels like staring into the veins of a broken world. The canyon stretches for thousands of kilometers, its walls layered with the history of Mars carved over ages. From your window, the shadows inside the canyon form vast pools of darkness, shifting softly as the sun moves across the sky. Traveling north, the landscape changes again, smooth plains replaced by sharp volcanic slopes. Eventually, you see the distant shape of Olympus Mons, rising like a soft mountain on the horizon. It is the tallest volcano in the solar system, so large that its slopes are nearly unnoticeable from up close. Driving across its base feels like crossing a continent. The scale is so immense that your mind struggles to grasp it. Yet even here, the silence remains unbroken, as if the volcano holds its breath under the thin Martian sky. Inside the rover, space feels cozy and safe. You take breaks, drink warm, recycled water, and watch the world drift by. Sometimes the sun dims as dust clouds veil the sky, turning the landscape into a soft, reddish twilight. Other times, the sky clears completely, revealing stars even during the day, points of light shimmering against the pale atmosphere. After many hours of travel, something quietly profound happens. The planet begins to feel familiar. You recognize the gentle slopes, the sweeping plains, the way the dust moves in the light. Mars no longer feels like a distant world. It feels like somewhere you can navigate with instinct, somewhere your body and mind are slowly learning to understand. And as the rover makes its way back toward the distant glow of your habitat, a warm dome of light against the fading horizon, you realize that traveling across Mars is not about the destination. It is about the journey, the slow, calm movement through a world that has waited eons for footsteps, wheels, and human presence. A world that teaches you how to be quiet, how to be patient, how to belong. Life and community on Mars unfold in a way that feels both deeply human and quietly transformed by the planet's calm, delicate rhythm. With only a handful of people living together inside a network of domes and tunnels, relationships take on a new depth, shaped by shared purpose and the gentle awareness that each breath you take depends not only on machines, but on the trust you share with the people around you. There are no crowds here, no strangers passing on busy sidewalks, no distant noises blending into the fabric of daily life. Instead, every face becomes familiar, every voice carries meaning, and every interaction matters. The daily routines develop their own quiet choreography. In the mornings, you might find a few crew members gathered around the greenhouse, checking nutrient levels or trimming leaves, their soft conversations blending with the hum of the fans. In the main dome, someone prepares breakfast, simple meals made of fresh greens, rehydrated grains, and warm drinks that fill the air with a faint but comforting aroma. People drift in slowly, still waking to the soft artificial dawn, exchanging gentle greetings rather than hurried words. At the table, conversations become tender rituals. You talk about the tasks of the day, about the beauty of last night's blue sunset, about memories from Earth that surfaced like warm sparks in the quiet of the morning. Laughter, when it happens, feels especially precious, light and genuine, echoing gently off the curved walls. There is no room for pretense here. Life is too close, too interconnected, too sincere. In the afternoons, you work together, repairing equipment, printing new structural panels, tending crops, analyzing samples from the surface, or updating logs that future settlers might read long after your time here. Every task feels meaningful. On Earth, you might have taken these small responsibilities for granted, but here, each action has weight. Changing a filter helps the colony breathe. Tightening a bolt protects the pressure seal. Checking a water line preserves days of life support. The knowledge that your actions matter gives your days a steady, grounding purpose. Social life on Mars is both simple and profound. With fewer distractions and fewer people, friendships deepen quickly. You learn each other's rhythms, who prefers quiet mornings, who hums while working, who tells stories during dinner, who likes to watch the stars from the observation window late at night. You begin to appreciate subtleties, small smiles, thoughtful gestures, the silent understanding in someone's eyes when the distance from Earth feels a little heavier than usual. You create rituals together without even realizing it. Friday nights might become movie nights, where you gather under the soft amber lights of the main dome and watch films stored in the Habitat server, stories from Earth that remind you of oceans, forests, rainy streets. Another night might be dedicated to music, with someone playing guitar, a lightweight carbon fiber model designed for space travel, while others hum or listen with closed eyes, letting the sound become a warm blanket against the planet's endless quiet. Birthdays, holidays, and milestones take on a new emotional intensity. A small cake made from greenhouse strawberries feels like a treasure. A handwritten note slipped under a door becomes priceless. A shared moment of silence to mark the passing of a year carries a depth that Earth's celebrations often lose amid noise and distraction. Outside the habitat, under the vast alien sky, relationships deepen in their own way. Standing together in suits, watching the sun drift behind the horizon, or gazing up at Phobos racing overhead, creates a quiet bond that words cannot fully express. The landscape, empty yet full of presence, reminds you that you are not just individuals living far from home. You are a tiny collective of humans who dared to step onto another world. The psychological challenges, too, are shared. When someone feels overwhelmed by isolation or distance, the others notice quickly. There is a gentleness in the way people look after each other here, a kind of emotional vigilance born not of duty, but of empathy. A simple conversation over tea, a walk through the greenhouse, or a shared moment watching the stars can be enough to restore balance. Over time, the colony begins to develop its own culture. Small traditions, shared sayings, a unique rhythm that belongs to this tiny pocket of humanity on Mars. You create a sense of home, not through buildings or decorations, but through connection, shared purpose, and the quiet courage of living together in a place that requires constant cooperation. Eventually, you realize something profound. Life on Mars makes community feel sacred. Every bond matters. Every voice is heard. Every person becomes part of a delicate constellation that keeps the colony alive and thriving. And as you sit with your companions at the end of a long day, warm lights glowing around you, the gentle hum of life support steady in the background, you understand that even in this distant world, perhaps especially here, human connection is the brightest and most essential light you carry. Imagining the future of a Martian civilization feels like watching the first strokes of a painting whose scale you can barely grasp. The early domes and tunnels you live in today are only the seeds, fragile beginnings of something that, over the next 100 years, could grow into a world shaped by human vision, patience, and resilience. As the decades pass, the colony slowly expands outward from its original hub, forming clusters of interconnected habitats that spread across the plains like a gentle constellation of light. What begins as a few dozen people becomes a few hundred, each generation contributing new ideas, new technologies, and a deeper understanding of what it means to live on a world that demands both caution and creativity. The earliest cities are built partly underground, using lava tubes reinforced with printed walls to create wide, warm spaces protected from radiation and extreme temperatures. These caverns become the first neighborhoods, filled with soft artificial light, gardens of engineered plants, small classrooms, meditation spaces, and rooms where people gather to share stories about Earth and dreams for Mars. Over time, architects design multi-level underground complexes, weaving biodomes, living quarters, research centers, and recreational areas into seamless networks that feel almost organic. Structures that pulse with sound, heat, and life, even as the world above remains still and silent. As technology advances, surface structures become more ambitious. Transparent magnetic shields and regolith-based armor allow for the creation of surface buildings with wide windows, letting residents gaze out at the red horizon from inside comfortable, pressurized spaces. Over decades, the first truly Martian city emerges, partly above, partly below the ground, shimmering with soft blue and amber lights under the twilight sky. Solar farms stretch across nearby ridges, glinting like metallic lakes, while fields of genetically modified crops grow under protective canopies. The air recycling towers become tall, graceful spires rising above the city, dispersing fresh oxygen into sealed districts, their faint glows marking the heartbeat of a growing civilization. But perhaps the most profound change arrives with the first children born on Mars. Their existence marks a turning point, not just biologically, but culturally. These children grow up having never seen an ocean, never felt rain on their skin, never heard the hum of insects or the rustling of trees. Instead, they grow up under soft, artificial sunlight, jumping effortlessly in low gravity, learning to distinguish the subtle tones of the Martian sky, playing in indoor parks built beneath the surface, and listening to stories of Earth that sound almost mythical to them. Their bodies adapt differently. Bones shaped by the gentler pull of Mars, lungs accustomed to carefully balanced atmospheres, senses tuned to subtler changes in light and sound. Their minds adapt too. They think of Mars not as a frontier, but as home. They form a culture rooted in silence, scientific curiosity, cooperation, and the soft rhythms of a world where survival is shared. These children become the first Martians, not by nationality, but by identity. Their art is filled with the colors of dust storms and blue sunsets. Their music echoes the hum of air recyclers and the resonance of deep caves. Their holidays celebrate the first landing, the opening of new domes, the thawing of seasonal ice. Their sense of community becomes stronger than any single tradition from Earth, because here, every life depends on every other life. As population grows, so does ambition. Engineers design massive greenhouses that stretch hundreds of meters, filled with layered agriculture and artificial rivers that circulate purified water. Researchers explore ways to gradually modify small external environments using magnetic shielding and anchored atmospheric greenhouses, early steps not toward terraforming the planet, but toward creating islands of warmth on the surface. Over a century, the technological, architectural, and social evolution of Mars shapes a society unlike anything Earth has ever seen. Education is built around cooperation and scientific curiosity. Daily life balances personal freedom with community responsibility. Politics becomes a system focused more on stability and survival than competition. Space travel between Earth and Mars becomes regular, turning the two planets into siblings connected by fragile but steady threads of commerce, culture, and shared destiny. And as the first Martian century comes to an end, a quiet realization settles across its cities and domes. Humanity has not simply built shelters on a foreign world. It has planted roots. It has created a home. The descendants of the first settlers walk under domes filled with trees engineered to thrive in low pressure, run along corridors carved into ancient lava tubes, watch the faint glimmer of Earth in the sky, and know, deeply and peacefully, that they belong to a story far larger than themselves, a story that stretches across worlds, a story that begins with a small dome on a silent plain and grows into a civilization shaped by courage, curiosity, and calm determination. As your time on Mars stretches from days into weeks and from weeks into months, you begin to feel a gentle shift within yourself, a soft, almost imperceptible realignment of your inner world that comes from living between two planets. At first, you believed the distance from Earth would be the defining weight of your experience, a constant reminder of everything you left behind. Oceans whispering against shores, the scent of rain on warm pavement, the chorus of birds at dawn, the hum of cities, the laughter that fills familiar rooms. But as the months unfold, Mars reveals something unexpected. Instead of feeling further away from your home, you begin to feel closer to it, because distance has sharpened your awareness of what home truly means. Some nights, you stand by the circular window of your habitat, watching the tiny blue star of Earth shimmering against the blackness. It is so small from here, so delicate, so impossibly bright. You imagine the billions of lives unfolding beneath its clouds, the spinning of its seasons, the storms, the forests breathing in and out, the waves sweeping across continents, and you realize, with a quiet ache that feels more like gratitude than longing, that you carry Earth inside you in ways you never understood before, but Mars, too, has become part of who you are. The planet's silence has settled into your thoughts, smoothing out the noise that once crowded your mind. Its slow sunsets have taught you to see beauty in subtlety, to appreciate the way light softens across stone and dust. Its vastness has reshaped the way you understand space, not just physical space, but emotional space, the room inside yourself to breathe, to reflect, to simply exist without hurry. When you walk outside in your suit, the sensation of being both protected and exposed never fully fades. The thin air presses nothing against your skin. The gravity lifts half your weight. The horizon stretches in a calm, unbroken sweep. And yet, instead of feeling vulnerable, you feel profoundly connected to something ancient, as if the planet is not pushing you away, but inviting you to listen, to the quiet language of geology, to the whispers of dust storms, to the long, patient history of a world that has waited billions of years for your footprints. You begin to notice how your memories of Earth and your experiences on Mars blend together like layers of mist. A dream about walking along a forest path merges with the memory of wandering through the greenhouse. The sound of wind through trees becomes the quiet hiss of air recyclers. A childhood memory of stargazing becomes the sight of Phobos racing across the sky. It is not confusion, it is integration. You are learning gently to belong to two worlds at once. And with this new understanding comes a deeper sense of purpose. You are not merely surviving on Mars, you are participating in an unfolding chapter of human history. You are one thread in a tapestry that stretches across planets, woven by explorers, scientists, dreamers, engineers, and children who have yet to be born on this world. You represent not escape from Earth, but expansion of humanity's presence, imagination, and hope. You feel this most strongly in the quiet moments, sitting in the greenhouse listening to droplets fall, joining friends at the communal table for a simple meal, walking through softly glowing tunnels carved into ancient lava tubes, or watching the blue glow of a Martian sunset give way to a sky full of unwavering stars. These experiences become the anchor of your new life, grounding you not in a single location, but in a state of being. Living on Mars teaches you that home is not defined by gravity, atmosphere, or geography. Home is shaped by connection, memory, purpose, and the quiet courage to embrace the unknown. And so, as you prepare to rest at the end of another soul, your eyes growing heavy under the soft amber lights of your habitat, you feel an unexpected peace settle over you. A peace born not from certainty, but from acceptance. Acceptance that you are part of something vast and beautiful. Acceptance that two worlds can live in one heart. Acceptance that the journey between Earth and Mars is not about distance, but about perspective. You close your eyes, letting your breath match the steady hum of life support, and allow yourself to drift into sleep. Outside, the planet rests beneath its thin atmosphere, silent and ancient. Above, Earth glimmers quietly in the dark, a reminder of where you came from and of everything that made you who you are. And somewhere in the space between those two worlds is you.